I think software development is broken, and according to you, I'm not alone. So in my last couple of videos, I was blown away by the comments that I got, really thought-provoking comments that challenged me, that caused me to think differently about some things, even after 23 years of doing this in various roles. So I just wanted to surface some of this wisdom that's kind of pent up in the community, in my small community here, but I think it's pretty representative of cross roles. So I want to surface some of that wisdom in the form of sharing the comments with you and giving my take on them. And then hopefully in this video, we can continue the conversation, adding some additional comments as you see fit. So hopefully you feel safe to do that. So I'm actually traveling. So I'm not actually obviously in a studio or anything. And I'm wrapping up a 3-day quarterly planning marathon. And so I'm completely wiped out and I probably look like I'm really tired. So I would love to do a video, an anonymous, faceless video on my experience with this quarterly planning, but that's a whole nother topic. So let's just jump right into the first comment that I wanted to share here. So this one is from Tim Girk 3262. Their comment is, Agile was the software component of a business trying to take the driver's seat. The MBAs and the lawyers were always going to outlast the dwarves that typey all day. So on the surface, kind of sounds tongue in cheek, but when you really think about what they're saying here, basically, what Agile was trying to do was democratize software development in a company by elevating the developers, the team members, to an equal footing with the business. And it turns out it's not actually a democracy, right? And we kind of know that it's capitalism, it's a business, the company, it's their money, right? It's the managers kind of calling the shots. What he's kind of saying here is maybe Agile was never going to really win out anyway, because ultimately the business is run by the business owners and the managers. If they don't get it, they're not going to adopt it. So I thought that was really interesting. Another comment here from the same person: software creation is still, or again, suffering an identity crisis. Disciplines like industrial process engineering, and I'm assuming referring to lean, and those types of things. So those disciplines have not had a sufficient impact. Developers go to work thinking they are primary producers, churning out product and accepting goalposts that are not appropriate. Bridge designers are not treated the same as bridge builders. What he's saying here is really interesting. Software engineering is more like a design activity. It's designing a process. It's designing a system. It's not about production. So his analogy here, bridge designers are not treated the same as bridge builders. The bridge designers have different set of processes, different ethical codes, different like standards bodies that govern the design and architecture of the bridges. The construction of the bridge is almost it's like a separate discipline completely. So his argument is really software development is more like bridge design. And it's something that I think we kind of all know intuitively, but many of us, including myself, and even right here trying to talk to you about this, it's really hard to articulate those two distinctions. But I think obviously with lean and other, like even with Scrum to some degree, and just the way managers and companies think about software development, it's much more on the production side. It's managed like a construction process. So just a really interesting way, thought-provoking way of putting it, I thought. So another good one here from JJ Mal M. I had always thought Agile was just a shortcut to critical thinking about why pragmatic development is the way it is. I think all the things in Agile are derivable via analysis, but people may gravitate towards reading the words as canon instead of understanding the underlying justification. Awesome comment. So the way I'm interpreting this comment is Agile is an abstraction. It allows us to not have to think about the underlying principles. It became more about the words themselves, and there wasn't as much thinking about, call them bespoke, solutions to problems. It was just, well, Agile's already solved that problem for us, so we're just going to take Agile and slap it down, sans all of the actual thought work that goes behind trying to solve those types of problems. So kind of meta, I guess, but just a really interesting way of thinking about this. So the next comment from Apanakos, they're saying, I have been through all these being things I was talking about in a previous video about why the software industry is kind of broken. I have been through all these that lead to a burnout, almost destroying me and my family. Unfortunately, there is no other solution than unlearn myself to stop taking pride for my work results. Unfortunate, but I see it as part of the process of emotional development. Now, this one kind of hit differently a little bit. It kind of hit hard, I thought. And initially I thought, man, I felt really bad for this person because they're checking out. One side is, yeah, stop taking pride, because we take pride in a job well done, in a solution well crafted, that's fit for purpose, that solves a problem, but it's also sustainable, and it's crafted in a way that's maintainable. And with the delivery pressures that we talk about, that can really force out some of those other attributes that we care about, and we no longer really take pride in what we do, what we're crafting. So their solution here is to, well, just stop trying to even take pride in my work. I'm just going to, put hands to keyboard and just ship the box down to the end of the assembly line. So to one degree, that's a very kind of a dark mentality, but I've been there. The other side of this is, see it as a part of the process of emotional development. So I think that this is some maturing that I've also had to go through. For a long time when I was engineering, it was the craft of engineering itself that I thought was the value. And it turns out it's not really the value. There's not a value in the code being artistic. We're building things for a business. They serve a purpose. They need to make money, or they need to save money. Long story short, I think the comment here is basically saying there's some level of detachment that is healthy. It is just a job. It's not your life's work, your magnum opus in the code. Another comment here from Holly Bowden 4891. I really enjoyed the video. I'm stumped though, because businesses typically need dates to coordinate across large groups, and when changes need to be communicated or trained out to end users, an idea of the scope and the when is needed at some point in advance. What can be done to work well within these constraints? And this, I think, this question captures so well almost the two paradigms that are at war with each other. Because the agilists, and I was one at one point, love to scoff at any discussion of forecasting, talking about when things might be done, the scope of what's going to be done, because we know software development is inherently an unpredictable activity, so we can't predict it at all. You have that camp on the agile side, kind of warring against the more traditional, we'll say, form of project management, where there's a schedule, there's a scope that's defined up front. What they're talking about here is just, you have a lot of people who are doing a lot of different things, and those activities need to be coordinated. Could be multiple teams all contributing to the same product. You might have a product launch. You have like work that goes into setting things up at a certain time and day. So that's just the nature of things. So I think the pendulum swung so far on Agile, it swung so far away from talking about good, useful processes and ways of coordinating these large group efforts. And what we got was scaled Agile framework, essentially, that monstrosity that claims to be an Agile way of doing coordinated planning at an organization level. Anyway, I thought this was a good discussion. It does not have an easy answer, but it's something that I think as a community, this is, I guess, a kind of an unrelated side topic, but as a community, we live in echo chambers. Somebody will post about TDD, or somebody will post about, I can't believe I was just in a meeting where we had to define the scope and set a target date because of marketing needed to coordinate a launch or whatever. And then you get all the people chiming in, yeah, they don't get it. Waterfall's alive and well, or like the 1980s called and they want their process framework back, and all these stupid jokes. And it just kind of echoes around in there. There's nobody challenging their mindset, and that group isn't looking to be challenged. They're not looking to learn the other perspective. So that's what I think we need to do more of, so we can develop kind of shared language, shared understanding, just like work towards improving things, and not just aligning yourself to one tribe or another. So I guess that was my little soapbox rant. Next one here from UKUECHLE. I'm not going to try to pronounce it. Firstly, thank you for calling out what's so wrong in IT so concisely. Secondly, I have to wholeheartedly disagree with your advice to make your way into a leadership position and change things. That was something that I suggested in one of my videos as a way to help push the tech industry towards a more positive direction. Is people, if you're still watching, somebody like you, somebody like me, who care about things being better, who have a human kind of centric approach to it, we need to move into leadership roles so we can be the leaders that other people complain about. This is a recipe for burnout, is what they're saying here. And then they go on to kind of outline their experience and how it happened to them. And I thought it was a really good comment. And I also just really like being disagreed with, and then like entering into a bait, not just a troll, right? But it's like, hey, I disagree with this comment. And actually, this has been my experience with going into leadership, maybe with a too much of an overzealous mindset, thinking I was going to go change the world. And it turns out that it's not like that in leadership. So this was a great call out, something I should have mentioned in that video, but just saying everybody should go into leadership and then go out in front and take all the bullets, be a sacrifice for the industry. That is a recipe for burnout for sure. So great comment. Another one here. I think I have one or two more here from FALERW. The status quo makes me sick to the stomach, especially when I have actually experienced firsthand better ways of working on a few rare occasions. The shocking thing is, shipping high quality software fast and frequently isn't even hard. It's surprisingly simple, but also highly contextual. And there are dozens of disciplined individual practices that need to fit together just right for a context to make it happen. So this is interesting too, because it ties into the other one when I was referring to around the destructive abstraction, how really and how I'm sort of leaning towards moving away from frameworks completely, because everything is what we do is so contextual, even within two companies that are building large scale distributed web systems like the domain that I'm in. The business context is so different. The people that you have are so different. The constraints that you're under are so different. And so we try to apply these frameworks that aren't context sensitive. I think this was just such a really good call out that, yeah, there's all these individual practices, right? There's basically, we should look at it as we have a toolbox full of practices, full of different frameworks, different principles, mindsets, and through experience, we apply those. We inspect and adapt and see what works and what doesn't. So just a really cool comment. And also the first part of the comment here, I've experienced sick to my stomach, especially when I've experienced firsthand better ways of working. And that's also when you've seen something just work, so amazingly once, and then you spend the next 10 years searching for it. I could kind of feel the pain in their comment here. So, and then to wrap it up, my favorite two comments, whining. This was from Jordan Keene 6219, whining. And then another comment was, agile is great if you don't have timelines and budget isn't any concern. Devs are artists. So the reason I put these in here isn't to call this person out for I would say these are almost trolling type of comments. However, I think that there was some truth to this. This whining comment, I thought, okay, that's fine. That's their opinion. But I really started thinking about it, and I thought, in my videos, was I really just aimlessly complaining? Because that's what whining is. And sometimes that can be a good to vent. That's fine. But that's not what I want to do in the videos. And I don't think that that's what you want to listen to. I don't think that's what's going to be useful for building a community of people who want to help fix their teams and their careers and the industry. That was a good gut check for me. So Jordan Keene 6219, thank you for that comment. And then agile is great if you don't have timelines and budget isn't any concern. Devs are artists. Clearly, you can kind of tell how they feel about the development as a craft, I think. But one of the things that used to annoy me, it was a trend for a while, is they would put their job titles, and I even saw it on resumes. that was software artisan. And I think this is what they're referring to here is that software, there is an art to software development, but we aren't artists just kind of crafting something for the pure enjoyment of others. You're crafting something that you enjoy building and then hope that other people enjoy it as well. That's why it's engineering. That's why, in either quality or it's analysis or whatever your role happens to be. But we're building systems or profit usually, right? For a company. So they need to be fit for purpose. So I hear where they're coming from here. Now, I want all comments, and when I see comments like this, I'm going to reply to those and try to get you to expand on those. If it's not truly trolling, I want debate. I want to be challenged, and I think that just helps make us all better. So that's why even though these comments weren't really probably intended to be helpful, I found them helpful. So thank you, Jordan Keene, for your comment. So just something a little bit different this time, and apologies if the audio wasn't great here in a hotel room. So definitely leave me comments if this was kind of interesting. I'd like to build community to bring some of these really thoughtful comments to the surface. Let me know if that's interesting. Leave your comments. I try to respond to all of them. And I think that that's how we're really going to fix software for you, for your team, and for the industry as a whole. And I'll link the two videos that I was referring to here or wherever in the description or somewhere. So thanks a lot. See ya.